All right, that's a wrap on the third citizen. I almost said no season, the third season for House of the Dragon. Having seen it all, I can say this was better than the second season, but barely. Some of it was too much, lagging and filler here. But, it had some good episodes, some interesting aspects here for some of the characters that played out. It's just better. It's better. Still not on par with the first season, but I don't know. The damage for the second season might be enough to where I don't know what the numbers are on this third season, that anybody came back to give it a shot. Does it make a difference? It's a little bit better than the last one. Yeah. There's some interesting things to it because the way it unfolds, my interpretation of it was that they want to make some of these characters sympathetic. And I'm like, no. Especially Rhaenyra and stuff. I don't think so. I mean, unless they do a 180 and that sort of thing. But where this is going, and for the most part, in a lot of ways, they crafted it well. If that's the direction they're going, if they're going to change it from where the course she's on now, then they're going to have to do the due diligence and development for that, for have her to turn away from the path she's taken. But it is an interesting thing where, woe was me and all this stuff. And a lot of it was about, because I'm a woman and all this sort of thing. But in her grasp of power and wanting it, it's seduced her already, and it's the danger of that, and that she becomes the monster. She becomes the ultimate villain. And that's wide open and very likely here, despite the fact that she's surrounded by monsters and villains everywhere you go, because it's said it ad nauseum that there's no heroes in this. There's some people you might feel sorry for here and there, but ultimately, no. There's really no redemption for quite a few. Once in a while, maybe one of them was trying to do the right thing, but then there's something screwed up about them too, I suppose, but it is an interesting thing because they had her commie girlfriend, and there was an interesting thing there where some of the people say, well, you're just is just as bad of the people that oppressed us, or what have you. She's like, how dare you? And that sort of thing. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. That's how that goes. It's usually the case for this scenario that's playing out. So it's an interesting, ending of the season without spoiling things, how that turned out. If they suddenly try to make this character heroic, I don't know. I'm not buying that. Again, it would take, some amount of due diligence to put it there. Entertaining. You can't just have several episodes of saying stuff and then call that development. You're going to have to actually orchestrate and do the necessary theater there that has a compelling and a credible moment for someone turning or what have you. But so I'm dubious. But the interesting thing here about with Rhaenyra, one of the big problems with the end of Game of Thrones was what they did with Khaleesi at the end. After everything she had been through, her mind breaks and she goes nuts and murders everybody. It would have been perfectly believable that she would attempt and maybe even succeed in murdering Cersei after what she did. But then for her to just fly off the handle, literally, and burn the city and attack people and stuff. No. Well, the killing of her best friend really broke her. And I'm like, do you know the woman's story? It didn't really hold up. If you're going to do that she was doomed to repeat the sins of her father, You needed to develop that, and it didn't. If you were going to go there, you had to do the due diligence, and you couldn't wrap it up in one season. That was going to take a couple of seasons to do it right. Whereas here, Rhaenyra, for what it is, I mean, like I said, there's been some filler episodes. That's for the overall show, but for her character alone, you've got her in this position. It's they've done it well. They've given it the necessary time, at least for that. Some things they've wasted time on, but other things with this, and for how this is unfolding, and how, what her fears are and what pushes her here and there. And it's an interesting thing about her, wanting to be respected and to be powerful and all this sort of stuff. And then she nearly collapses into a blubbering episode where Daemon has to rein her back in and get her back up on her feet and all this stuff, and that kind of thing. And it's, I don't know, I think they're setting it up for her to just become a monster, which would be interesting. And based on everything that's unfolded, I'm not entirely certain. Well, what's the thing that's finally going to say, I can't do this. This is going too far, and I've got to redeem myself here, or something like that. Not anytime soon. So the rest of it, of course, is the big battle. They have a battle with Lannister, and whoopsie, the things don't go the way he thought it would. But then again, things don't go the way Daemon thought it would either. Now, there's some scenes here, it's almost hearkening to Odysseus from the Odyssey, and Christopher Nolan's movie. And it's just like, you got Daemon walking around looking at the destruction and stuff, and war's really bad, isn't it? How many wars has this guy been in by now? But anyway, it was pretty gruesome. And awful and all that. But there's quite a few threads here that get some sort of, not conclusion, obviously, because they want to do another season. And I'm assuming they'll get one, but I don't know what their numbers are. But for Aemond and Aegon, it's an interesting turn of events there. And he's like, well, how credible is this? And, well... considering the situation, and it is an interesting thing, because you think that Aegon has been driven crazy by all this, or what happened to him, and there's some of that there, but there's also some amount of calculation that takes place in the scene. At least that's what I'm hoping they're doing with it, not just to I don't know, he's dead within a few episodes next season, or whatever, something like that. But it's an interesting turn of events, and then you get a little more about the mystery witch here, who's been desperately trying to get her claws into power for what she sees as justice she's deserved, and she's been seeking it a long time. So there's a little more of the magic elements of the Westeros world here concerning her, which was already apparent considering what she was able to do all along here. And she tried first with Daemon, but now she's successful with Aemond. Perhaps because he's younger and whatnot. But after what happened previous episode, well, he's in a pretty crushed moment, which is rather convenient for his brother. But it does put them in this position. And considering what's going on with the Civil War outside and everything, I think it works. They'll come together, and we'll see how that unfolds next season. It's unfortunate. I was getting Lannister was an interesting character here. I guess I am spoiling it. Like I said, it doesn't end well for him. But we'll see how that goes in the fallout and whatnot. But ultimately, the Iron Throne is the goal. And how that plays out there. But it's a fine, okay finish for the show. The last two episodes are pretty good. The first one was all right. And then you had some stumbling long slag here and there. And then I think there was one there I thought was not too bad. But all in all, it's not on par with the first season, but certainly better than the second. So, I'll give them that. But anyway, that's how it wraps up for now. There's enough there to give some amount of intrigue in the hopes that perhaps the fourth season will get it right and round off in a good tale. I don't know how many seasons they intend to do, but there's possibilities there. Of course, the shadow of the failure of the conclusion to Game of Thrones hangs over all of this, and there's nothing they can do about it. So that's too bad. But that's turned off quite a few who are never going to show up for any of these shows again. And, that got to respect that, because boy, was that show had reached the heights, and then you end it like that. I mean, and of course, it goes on. George R.R. Martin won't finish the story, so Anyway, there you go. House of the Dragon season 3 has come to a close, and it's on to season 4.